North Queensland has a proud history in conservation. The region has been a leader in grassroots campaigns like the one that led to World Heritage listing of the Great Barrier Reef. But environment groups say that protection work is now under threat at a time when the region's fragile ecosystems need it most. Kathy McLeish reports.
North Queensland is world-renowned for its extraordinary environments.
A really significant area, with outstanding universal values.
With a choice of magnificent places to visit, Cairns is a prime tourism destination.
We've become, I think, by far the most attractive of all the cruise shipping destinations.
Cairns Mayor Bob Manning would like to see that grow.
Cruise ships have got bigger, and therefore we now have to look at the future.
The Cairns Port Authority wants to widen and deepen the outer channel to Trinity Inlet and create a swing basin in the inner channel to allow what it believes would be 61 mega cruise liners a year to turn around. But that would create more than 5 million cubic metres of dredge spoil and a further 500,000 a year to maintain the channels. The environment groups in Cairns say that spells mega worries for the Great Barrier Reef.
So they're talking about initial dredging of around 5 million cubic metres of dredge spoil, which would then be disposed of in the Great Barrier Reef Marine Park.
Anna Maguire of the Cairns and Far North Environment Centre says a stringent environmental process is paramount for the project. The Cairns Port Authority, the Cairns Regional Council and the state government say they agree. The environmental assessment phase is now underway.
Ports North are required to go through some very detailed studies and reporting before they will be able to get the approvals. That's assuming they can get the approvals.
The Newman government has been clear about its determination to cut green tape.
The Barrier Reef will certainly be under no threat from any further development proposals that this government may approve. But in protecting the Great Barrier Reef, we will not walk away from our responsibility to grow the economy of Queensland.
But conservation groups say the changes are coming too fast for effective consultation.
What we're seeing at the moment is a sustained agenda from the state government.
It's massive. The changes to environmental management, whether from a policy perspective, a legislative perspective or a regulatory perspective, would run to 2 or 3 pages. And in the case of some legislation, it affects several hundreds of thousands of hectares.
Fergus Power of the North Queensland Environmental Defenders Office says it's expensive and time-consuming for conservation groups to respond to legislation and policy changes and industrial proposals, especially in North Queensland, which has 25% of Australia's World Heritage areas.
At this point in time, we're seeing rapid industrial expansion along the Queensland coast mostly for coal terminals, so things like the Abbott Point expansion, which require large volumes of dredging.
There's an increasing threat in relation to port development, the disposal of toxic dredged spoil into the marine park, the effects of massively increased shipping movement through and across and around the reef.
The Environmental Defenders Offices were set up in every state to provide support on environment law to the public and conservation groups.
The Environmental Defenders Office of Northern Queensland covers in excess of 1 million square kilometres of onshore and offshore Australia.
Fergus Power is now the only solicitor working for the North Queensland office. He says last year the state government removed its funding, and the bulk of that funding was generated by interest made on solicitors' trust funds earmarked for the community.
Under the normal course of events, one wouldn't expect a state government to take hold of monies like that and divert them away from critical areas such as environmental protection. Unfortunately, in mid-2012, that's what the Newman state government did do.
In a statement, the Attorney-General Jared Blahey said that due to the current economic climate, the funding had been used to provide frontline services to Queenslanders and had been redirected to women's legal services. Those working for its protection say the environment is indeed a frontline.
The international community and UNESCO are looking questioningly at Australia's record in terms of its management of the Great Barrier Reef. This is a period where the environment is probably more at threat than it has been for the last 20 years or so.
I think people are starting to realise that this is the agenda of the current government, and that if we don't want these changes to happen, then people need to actually take action themselves and support organisations like ours or get active on these issues themselves.
The North Queensland Environmental Defenders Office now hopes to secure pro bono support from interstate law firms.